When I make pie dough, I like to cut the butter in by hand, and here's why. Okay, so first of all, what does it mean to cut in the butter? What this means is you're going to take pieces of cold butter and you're going to rub them into your dry ingredients to create a flaky dough texture. You can tell that you have finished cutting in the butter when you're able to squeeze the dough like that and then crumble it apart super easily. Now, a lot of recipes will ask you to grate the butter on the large holes of a box grater, which you can do, or they'll ask you to mix it in a food processor until the butter is about the size of a pea. Now, the reason I don't like to do it this way is because both of these methods create pea-sized butter. And what do you get with butter that is the size of a pea? Well, you end up with small flakes in your crust, whereas I would prefer to have a much more flaky crust. And to achieve that, you just smash in the butter with your hands just like this until you kind of get a shingled effect. Rather than little balls, you have flakes. And you have flakes of varying sizes, which makes the dough more textured, more interesting, and more delightful, in my opinion. Now, the reason that these flakes of butter produce more flaky crust as opposed to the pea-sized shapes is because the flakiness comes from the moisture in the butter evaporating and separating those layers of starch and creating those flakes in the oven. So if you have a flake of butter as opposed to just a little pea of butter, that flake will separate the dough, whereas the pea will just do like a little bit, if that makes sense. There's also the added benefit of not needing any extra special equipment. And here's the thing. Yeah, okay, maybe it feels like it's going to take a longer time to cut in the butter with your hands, but think about the time you're saving washing your food processor or getting all the butter pieces out of your box grater, especially if you're like me and you don't have a dishwasher to do the heavy lifting for you. I'd say it probably takes about the same amount of time either way. So I might as well do it the way that gives me a much more interesting flaky dough. Now, I'm not saying that you are wrong if you prefer to use a box grater or your food processor to make your dough. That's totally up to you. This is just my personal preference and why I like this method specifically. If you want more kitchen tips and tricks, recipes, and stories about my life as a chef, go ahead and give me a follow. And check out my Substack, The Stove and All, where you can get all the recipes, stories, tips, tricks, everything all written down for you. I hope to see you there.